Um, Many horse owners know you as a veterinarian, an educator, an advocate for positive reinforcement training. But for those who may be meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about yourself and how ResqRanch came to be.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I always thought I would be a horse veterinarian. I actually have a degree in horse racing management, and I went to Dubai and worked with racehorses there and graduated from vet school, started my own equine practice, was rescuing horses all along anyway, and sort of having informal classes for like the neighborhood kids and stuff like I think a lot of horse owners do. And then bought a horse at an auction in 2003 and had a terrible accident with her. She threw me, it broke my leg, almost lost my leg. It was a really terrible
Oh,
accident. I still have problems with that leg to this day. And so sitting there being like without the ability to work, certainly I was in a wheelchair, so I couldn't do horse practice anymore for at least several months. And during that time, I ended up at the Shed Aquarium and I got my hands on a dolphin training manual,
oh,
which was absolutely mind blowing to me. Because, I mean, here I was already a veterinarian. I had had horses since I was a teen. I went to all the Paparelli classes, and had all the books and John Lyons, and I had all that stuff. And that was my background as far as horse training is concerned. Um, and then I was like, oh, I have all of a sudden, here I have the book right here. Here it is, Animal Training, right? Successful animal management through positive reinforcement. And so this book was literally full of information that I didn't know. Like all my years of being around horses and even being a vet, we never learned about any of this stuff in vet school.
mhm.
And I had all the books, went to, the library before the internet and all the things. And this book was literally full of things I had never heard of before. And it was literally a life changer for me. So it immediately changed how I interacted with my own animals, what I taught my clients, how I interacted with all of my horses, what I was teaching people. And I've basically just been on the positive reinforcement train ever since because
Mhm.
I know that it's the one. A lot of times when you talk to people that are horse trainers, they kind of follow so and so's method or follow so and so's method, or they're more
Mhm.
like this guy or what they learned from their grandpa or from a Native American or something like that. Well, a lot of people don't really realize that there's actually a whole body of knowledge about animal training and behavior that we have hundreds of hours of documented science, but it's all in primarily the marine mammal world. So orca trainers, dolphin trainers, zoo trainers, people work with tigers. You can't put a halter and a lead rope on a dolphin, right? So
Mhm.
how do you get them to do all the amazing things they get them to do? And
Mhm.
it's through positive reinforcement. And so that is really what I know there's a few other people out there that are trying to bring it more into the horse world, but I feel like they come at it from this like really super analytical way that is hard to connect to the average horse person, right? The average horse person struggles to understand, like, I don't even know what this is. I'm like just supposed to give my horse free food all the time. I mean, I'm just going to have a horse that bites.
Yeah.
I don't even get this, and when it's properly executed, it's none of those things. And it's actually faster, safer, and leads to the most rewarding bond that you could ever have with your horse that really pays off in those moments when you're on the trail and the moose jumps out or the helicopter pops up or whatever that really puts stress on the foundation of your relationship with the animal. If you have a positive reinforcement type bond to begin with, um, that will hold through and keep you safe and sane and prevent a lot of tragic injuries. And so that's why I am such a advocate of it, because I know that it's the path to help more horses stay in their home in the first place, help people that have been hurt by horses overcome their fears, because I'm going to give them a new framework so that they really eliminates or pretty close to eliminates their chances of getting hurt if they kind of
Mhm.
follow this positive reinforcement framework where the horse has a choice. So that's pretty much my soapbox on positive reinforcement, how I got here and why I think it's so important to save more horses' lives and quite frankly, save more people's lives and children's lives. I mean, if you look at statistics on how many kids under the age of 15 end up in ER, top three is horse injuries, right? And
Hmm.
I know that if 80% of us were using positive reinforcement, that would not be the case anymore.
So do you have documentation? Do you have a course that people can go through with you? And can you tell me a little bit about that?
I do. I do. Well, first of all, there's thousands of hours of scientific documentation to support what I'm saying is true. So, in fact, like any veterinarian that would recommend, even though I don't think very many vets really recommend any kind of method of horse training, but if they did and they recommended anything but positive reinforcement, it would be on par with being against the Practice Act, right? Because we just have too much to show that that is exactly what we should all be doing as animal lovers.
Hmm.
And then as far as any course, yes, I do. I put together a course. It's a little under 3 hours. It has really over 150 hours of college level horse behavior and science packed into this little under 3 hour video. And I used to sell it. And I, for several years, I sold it and I tried to see if I could, get some interest in it and it just really wasn't going anywhere as fast as I wanted it to. So I said, to heck with it. 2026, year of the fire horse, baby. I'm just going to start giving it away.
Huh.
So now I give it, yeah. So now it's for free on the ResqRanch website. There's just a free community on the website. And if you go there and you just log in, no charge to nothing nefarious there. Nothing crazy is going to happen. You're not going to get blown up with a bunch of spam trying to sell you anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a way to have a community where people can log in. You create your own password, go in there, and all the trainings are in there for free.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Well, thank you for offering that resource because, we get pigeonholed into a certain way of doing things. And we don't ever want to get closed-minded to the point where we're not open to looking at anything else. And I think that happens a lot of times. But
Yeah, there's
so
always something new to learn, right?
there always is. But
Yeah.
can you tell me about a specific case that you used this with a particular horse and how that horse changed or how it changed his behavior? Um, that would be super interesting for us, I think.
Yeah, so lots of examples, but let me give you something that's like really simple. Um, Again, because when you have consent, right? Like in today's day and age too, that's a really important part of the cultural conversation is consent.
Hmm.
It's people talk about this a lot and how we value that much more than we used to. We want to have that a part of the conversation and acknowledge that we want to always have consent no matter what's happening with in the workplace or in relationships or whatever the case may be. And that's really what's different about positive reinforcement is we are as much as possible always attempting to get the horse's consent for every step of the way. I'm talking from catching to putting a halter on to leading into a different part of the barn. It is a conversation that we're having with them every 10 seconds. Do you consent? Yes. Do you consent? Yes. Is this okay? Yes. Is this okay? Yes. And if it's not, then we stop and we take a deep breath and we don't go, come on, let's go. We're going in here. Okay. We don't, that's eliminated from the conversation. And instead we go, okay, I'm the person. I have not only the bigger brain, but also I have all the control. This horse has no control over who it lives with, what halter it gets on, what room it has to go into, what trailer, what fence it's behind, what friends it has. This is a literally innocent creature that has zero choices, very
Hmm.
few choices in its day to day. So the more choices that we can give it when we're interacting with it and asking it to do anything, the more likely it is going to stay below any kind of stress threshold, which is what I find is the most of the time people miss the signals, right? It takes years to really read a horse's behavior well. Like
Yeah.
I see people even that have had horses for years, and I still haven't got your example, but here's an example of something. I've seen people that have had horses for years ride them all the time, throw them in the trailer, take them out across state lines, go on weekend through the desert trips and everything very successfully, and still misread horse behavior and make assumptions about the horse's behavior that are incorrect and say, oh, he's just being stubborn. He's just, oh, he doesn't like this or he does like that. And I observe them and having a little bit more knowledge because it's like my day-to-day thing that I do, right? That's just what they do on the weekends. I see how they are misreading the signals that the horse is giving. So it takes a long time to like really get good at reading horse behavior. But if you do positive reinforcement, you don't have to be an expert at reading horse behavior because either the horse does it or they don't. It's
Mm-hmm.
black and white. It's this really simple system. And if they don't do it, then you have to stop right there and go, okay, wait, what do I have to do? What am I missing? That is this, it's the horse is just communicating to you that they're having some discomfort about that. For example, had a horse that got a hoof abscess. We needed to put his foot in a bucket and soak his foot. So we get the bucket, put him in a stall, put the foot in the bucket, he pulls it out. Okay, fine. He's a pretty easygoing horse. So we're like, we can do, we're just, hey, buddy, we're going to get this done, right? So get the bucket, put his foot in there, pulls it out again. Like he doesn't want that. And so I'm at that point where I have to go, okay, I'm not going to force him. I'm not going to resort to my old ways of how I would have handled this 20 years ago of knock it off. We're going to get this done. Okay. Because you got to get your foot soaked. This is ridiculous. Okay. Because that is, let's face it, I think a pretty normal reaction for most horse people to respond to a horse that way in a situation where you're worried about them. They've got a hoof abscess. You need to get it soaked. You got to get back to work. You don't have time to mess around with this and you just
Yeah.
got to get this foot done. So I stopped, thought, okay, positive reinforcement. What can I do? So we went and got an icicle out of the freezer and I introduced it to him to see if he was interested in it. And he was. And I started letting him have little bits of the icicle. And he was having so much fun with A, it was something new. He'd never gotten an icicle before. B, it tasted kind of good. C, it was hot outside and it was cooling. So one person was sort of giving him the icicle and being like, hey, isn't this fun? Check this out. You like that? We put his foot in the bucket. He stood there the whole time without blinking an eye. And we got it done. Right. And so that's an example. What so a lot of times what people think is that positive reinforcement is bribery. Okay. And it's very, very important to understand that bribery is getting the reward before the behavior. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a paycheck is something we all work for and wouldn't do it if we didn't get one.
Right.
Okay. So it has to be used appropriately as a reward, as a paycheck for a job well done. So he put his foot in the bucket, get a little paycheck. He kept his foot in the bucket, get a little more of a paycheck. So it's understanding how to use those rewards in small increments. Again, when I'm doing a training session, I'm not thinking very linearly in a linear fashion
Mm-hmm.
about first we catch the horse, then the halter goes on, then we stand tied. Those are that right there, what I just said is like 50 to 100 small behaviors. Okay, so we all think that a horse should be able to do that like this every time right off the bat. But that's literally 50 to 100 small behaviors the animal had to learn from putting their head down to tolerating the thing coming over to your hand being over the back to responding to the pull of the lead rope. Literally, I could probably break that down into 50 to 100 small behaviors. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to recognize every single one of those small behaviors. Oh, thank you. Maybe put the halter in. Good, thank you. It doesn't always have to be food. You match the reward to the behavior. So if a horse has been haltered 100 times and they lower the head and you put the halter on, they don't need a half a bucket of grain.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All they need is hey, thanks. That was great. I really appreciate you putting your head down. And just that conversation, clip the lead rope, off we go. And so it's just a different framing of how we interact with the horse with all the things that we do.
That is awesome. So, can you tell me a time where you just almost gave up? Said, I've had enough of everything that's going on and almost gave up.
Yeah, lots of times. Lots of times. Okay, so I would say, well, okay, I'll share this example with you. So we had a Mustang that we got, our first Mustang that we got as part of the Meeker Mustang makeover.
Mm,
And as part of that, we had to teach this animal a whole list of behaviors in 60 days. Okay, so positive reinforcement and time frame deadlines don't mix well. Okay, first of all. Okay, so I tried to use as much positive reinforcement as I could with him, but honestly, I couldn't. There was no way. I didn't have enough time because I have a full-time mom, I'm single mom, two kids, I'm full-time business owner. Trying to train this horse on the side, it just was not realistic. I knew the only way I was going to get this done is to use my more traditional methods. Okay, use some positive as much as I can, but also we had to get the things done. He had to pick his feed, he had to get in a trailer, he had to have a bath, and we only had 60 days to accomplish all these things with him. And so his foundational training is faulty. Okay, it
mhm,
truly is, because he got mixed signals from the get-go. And so we've unfortunately had problems with him behavior-wise ever since, because he still remembers those moments of, okay, well, she's being nice right now, but any minute she's going to get pissed off because I'm not doing it, and she's going to lose it and get after me with the whip. Okay. So he's always kind of in his mind a little bit like this, on the lookout for when we're going to resort to making him do it. And 2 years ago, but I rode him all the time. I took him to the horse expo. I did demonstrations with him. We bitless, I mean, he was amazing at age 3, right? With this Mustang, and he did really well. But 2 years ago, I came home late at work, and it was hot outside, and the flies were terrible. And I sort of sometimes took advantage of the fact that, like, he would be the one that would always do it, right? Like no matter
mhm,
what, like you could rely on him. He's always going to be okay. And he was hot, and he was irritated, and he was cranky, and he was throwing his ears, and I just didn't pay attention to any of it. I really didn't, honestly, because I was like, oh, he'll be fine. Oh, he'll be fine. So if you've been raised with that, like I have been, it's hard even for me to overcome it sometimes, right? To not resort to that, that look, we're just gonna do it. Even though I didn't have a schedule, I didn't have to do that. Well, it didn't work out so good for me that time, because my daughter, she's young, she's impulsive, she rides an off-track thoroughbred, and she was off down somewhere else in the property, cantering and jumping and all this stuff, and I was just trying to be like, hey, let's just meander down the driveway over here. And she came flying up behind me on her thoroughbred, and he just lost his mind, and he bolted, and he's never bolted before. But again, he was hot, he was irritated, the flies were bad. I didn't address any of that. He was pissy when I was putting the saddle on, and I just got on him anyway, and he bolted. And I flew off and broke my arm, had a bad concussion.
mm,
Uh, could have died from that, So here I am, like positive reinforcement, and then I had this terrible thing happen to me. And it sure didn't, I think, bode well for a lot of people that were like, oh, see, that crap doesn't work anyway.
mhm,
But what it took me like a year before I started really coming to grips with myself and putting my own sort of ego aside, and trying to be like, what happened? Like, does positive reinforcement really not work? Like, here I am teaching this all the time, and then like I had this horrible thing happen to me. I almost died. And I realized that since I created something that I call the 7-step pre-flight checklist. Okay. And I did not follow my checklist. Okay. So the checklist is basically that your horse is comfortable and happy before you get on them. Okay. Like, you would think that's pretty basic, but I missed it because I also got really complacent in thinking, it's fine this time, but it's not fine all the time. You really do have to. Are they lonely? Are they hot? Are they tired? Are they lame? Are they bothered by flies? Do you have to ride him right now? Could I just have maybe not done when I threw the saddle on and he threw his ears back, and I tightened the cinch up anyway? I should have maybe taken the saddle off and just took him for a hand graze in that moment and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, babe. I love you. You're my friend. I don't want you to be unhappy. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge all the signals that he was giving me the whole time to tell me, look, I don't feel good. I don't feel like it right now. And then he just threw a temper tantrum and I paid the price. But I learned a lesson. Um, you can always learn a lesson, right? Even,
Absolutely.
even,
Absolutely.
yeah. So now I just, yeah, I don't do that anymore, obviously. And we have two new Mustangs and they've been handled completely with positive reinforcement from the very first day that we've gotten them. I'd never had to do anything with them by a timeline. And so the relationship that we have with them and the kind of training that we do with them is it, it's like a miracle. It's amazing. Like they just are incredible. They're always first at the gate to show up. They do anything we ask. They never spook at pretty much anything, because they just have so much faith in us and being with us and that we'll keep them safe. It's an entirely different framework. It's entirely different foundation. And I'm so excited about when we do get them really ride ready and can do demonstrations and things like that with them so that people can see what is possible with using just positive reinforcement and not when you have to compromise and use both or when so many horses don't get that chance, right? Most of us are dealing with a horse that's had the whip used on them a few times, so they have that fear of us, and we're
Hmm.
always trying to overcome that the rest of their life. And PTSD is a real thing for horses and people.
Hmm.
So we all are just doing the best we can every day, I think.
Yeah, that's quite a story. Well, that's probably what goes into my next question, that's definitely a lesson that your horse taught you.
Yes,
So, but
absolutely. Yeah.
well, let me ask you this question. How do you keep doing all of this work? You've got the rescue, you've got the veterinary clinic, you've got this positive reinforcement training that you do. How do you do it all? How do you manage it all?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have a good team. We kind of talked about that earlier. I do have a team. It's a
Hmm.
small team, but I have a very good team. I mean, if you get two really, really strong people on your side that understand your mission and your goal, really understand your mission and your goal. Like I have had to let some people go,
Hmm.
and that's always tough. But they didn't really buy into all this stuff. Oh yeah, that sounds great, on the surface. But
Yeah.
then when it came to having conversations with other people about what I was doing or why we were doing what we were doing, they couldn't really answer them because they really were just, let's face it, they were just trying to get a paycheck. They weren't really committed to being like, wow, this is really cool. And I really think this can change the world.
Yeah.
And so you get one or two people on your side that see what you see and share your vision and appreciate your passion, even if it's not exactly their passion, but they want to see you succeed, then that makes all the difference and helps us to continue to reach more people.
Wow. So in addition to being a veterinarian, you do these clinics, is that right? Or lessons?
Correct. So hands-on wise, there's a couple of different ways, a couple of different things that we offer. So first of all, I take volunteers several days a week. And that's basically like free horse training lessons. I have one lady in particular who's been with me two, 3 or 4 times a week for 2 years. And she's
Hmm.
just amazing to see how well she can problem solve almost anything with any of the horses
Hmm.
because she's been doing it for so long. And I feel really safe. She's really about one of the only people that I really feel safe with, that I can walk away from the corral and leave her in the middle of 9 horses, some wild Mustangs that are rowdy, and know she will make good decisions and not get hurt. Right.
Hmm.
And so I offer that opportunity for anybody that takes my horse training master class and then passes like a little proficiency exam. Because again, the class is free, so anybody can just say, "Oh, I did it. Sign me up." And I'm like, okay. I have to have some kind of barrier to make sure that they did actually study it all and they
Hmm.
do understand the concepts before I just turn them loose here with the animals. So that's one thing that I have. And then for people who just are like really want like a 3 day intensive, I do in the summertime. I usually have 3 3 day intensive positive reinforcement. starting with ground mounters and working all the way up to whatever anybody wants to do, depending on their level of experience. So actually, my July dates are already sold out. So I don't have any available. No, I'm sorry, not July. The August dates are sold out. I
Mhm.
misspoke. I still have room in the June one, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and the July one, but that's it. And I only do those in the summer because without an indoor arena yet, it's just not realistic with the groundwork and stuff like that to have good. We just got to make sure we have good footing and everything for everybody to work with the horses. And also I'll just throw out there too that if cost is a factor, if somebody's out there going, wow, that sounds amazing, I'd love to do that, but wow, that cost is a factor for me, because of some of the donations that we have gotten over the last couple of months. We do have some money set aside for some scholarships.
Mhm.
So if and we just ask that you email us info@resqranch.org with a letter of intent of why you're deserving and we should give you the scholarship and how much of a scholarship you need. And because we don't, again, my goal is to get this to as many people as possible. So I don't want anything to be a barrier to people really getting to deep dive into how to use this with their own horses or clients' horses, or if you work for another vet or whatever the case may be.
So, interestingly enough, um, obviously, I've had horses my entire life. And my veterinarian that I had back in Washington, he said the biggest challenge he had was horses never behaved. They were always having to fight with the fact the horse isn't going to stand there. He's going to be rotten. He's going to kick out. He's going to do whatever. And he said that was always his biggest challenge. And they always have an assistant with them. But how can you, as a veterinarian, relay that to your customers? And I know you said you don't do a lot of large animal, but understanding that with any animal, they've got to be able to hold still so that you can work on them. How do you handle that situation?
Well, for one thing, I think that I would like to get the message out to more. I'm not the only veterinarian who didn't know about positive reinforcement, first of all. Okay,
Right.
like so if I was a crazy horse nerd since I was like, you know, an infant, right?
Yeah.
So I had every book and I watched all the movies, I did all the things, so for it to be such a life-changing, eye-opening surprise for me after I was already a veterinarian, then I know there's vets that don't know this, right?
Hmm.
And so that's one thing is that I would love to see more vets just understand that it's also their number one way for them to stay safe and their staff to stay
Hmm.
safe if they are actually taking the time to encourage their clients to learn about positive reinforcement. Because in positive reinforcement training, it's a very big part of what you'll see on videos and things like that on YouTube and what others are teaching, practicing getting injections, practicing getting a hoof stand from a farrier store and teaching your horse to stand on three legs. And that's very much encouraged in the world of positive reinforcement, is
Hmm.
that is a part of your groundwork. So your groundwork is not just lunging both directions, line driving, and things like that. Your part of your groundwork is also sticking a syringe in their mouth that's full of, maple syrup water, brushing
Hmm.
their teeth, um, poking them, and with this blank syringe, all the things that they're going to experience, so that when a stranger shows up and does those things to them, it's not as stressful.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, and also here in Colorado, it's probably pretty important that they can get in a trailer, especially with the fire danger that we have here. So
Yes,
that's
trailer, very, very important. So we already had our spring fire drill here at the ranch, where I just said, okay, that's it. I need all the volunteers here. That's what we're gonna do. It's like set the timer, go. Like, how fast can you find all the halters? Get everybody haltered, get them all caught up. You know what I mean? And get them corralled to where, um, assuming we had an 8 horse semi standing there by, that we could get them all into it. And I
mhm.
encourage everybody that has a horse to do fire drill every spring, especially in Colorado. It's really
Hmm.
important. What are you going to do? Are they microchipped? If they're not, get them microchipped. That's something we can help with. Have paint so you can paint your phone number on their side or on their hooves or whatever it is that you're going to do. Just like having your go bag ready, right? Like all of us are
Hmm.
supposed to have our go bag ready. We need to also do that every spring for our horses as well. And that
Absolutely.
and includes being able to do trailer loading. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, what would you like to leave everybody with today?
Give it a try. What do you have to lose? Like you have nothing to lose. Literally
Yeah.
nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
Except for maybe a couple of hours of your time studying on your own. Okay. And if studying on your own sounds boring, you don't want to do it or what have you, I certainly offer a group and private coaching. But the main thing is, I really, really need YouTube subscribers
Yeah.
because my YouTube channel is how we plan to grow the nonprofit. The more views I get, the more Google grants that we can get to help us feed the horses and rescue more horses and build our indoor arena and all that, all the things. So
Hmm.
that's really where I'm trying to concentrate on. And if you're interested in horse training, I would certainly encourage anybody to go back and either see my videos or look at my live streams. I think that the biggest nuggets of gold for most horse people is probably in my live streams because all the live streams I've done with the Mustang fillies when they were yearlings, 2 year olds, no, they're 3 now. They're all on the YouTube channel, and so you can go back and look and at your own pace and skip through the boring parts because you know I still don't really have a videographer. So
Hmm.
sometimes if the horse goes around the corner and the camera sitting on a tripod, you're just looking at nothing, right? But
Hmm.
if you can just skip through all that stuff, and then when the horse comes back into frame, look at what we're doing, watch how we're doing it, put comments in the question, put questions in the comments, and I always encourage people. I'm like, if there's anything at all that you're going on Google to search that has to do with horses, and you don't know who to listen to or what to believe, drop me a
Hmm.
comment. I'll make a video about it.
That's amazing. So what is your video? What is your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is the one Dr. Q. So it's just those 7 letters. So THE, the number one DRQ.
Okay. And that's your YouTube channel. And then your website is
It's rescueranch.org,
org.
which is ResqRanch.org.
Okay. Perfect. And so what I'll do is I'll put that in the article and we'll put it at the end of the video so people know how to get a hold of you. And thank you so much for your time. This has been very enlightening. I'm going to go check that course out. That sounds interesting. And I
Yeah,
think it's amazing that you offer that for free.
yeah,
I just, that's very generous and it just means you have a heart to help horse people. And
I'm
so
and
I
horses.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
letting me have a voice so that I can try to help more people and horses. I thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time and
Thanks.
you have a wonderful day and we'll get this information out there for people.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Have a great
Okay.
day. Okay,
You too.
bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.